African. Tell us about African. Jade, what is African?
So Afrocon is a one-day festival of curated conversations, vendors, workshops, and panels, all talking about things that are pertinent to Black and Brown nerds. So everything from representation to Afrofuturism, workshops on board game design, workshops on comic creation and character creation and world building and story and writing and the artistic side of it. And we love comics. And where do we in Omaha, Nebraska find space to talk about Black comics? It's a space to just be and talk about all of these things that we like and love. And not everybody is comfortable having those conversations outside of their community. So it's building that community. That's what Afrocon is really about. But
Night 2 of the Body Liberation for All podcast takeover. Here we go. Yes, tonight, new friend to me, friend of Dalia, Ricardo Corporán, and now coming to the screen, the co-host of the Body Liberation podcast takeover, Dalia Kinsey. Ow!
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for night 2 of the takeover. So this might feel a little more takeover-y than yesterday's takeover. So I will be taking the lead today and dropping this into my feed later on. So if you haven't subscribed to my podcast yet, maybe you need a few more minutes to fall in love with me. Don't worry, it's going to happen. You will get that information at the end of the show, and you can relive this magic in a couple of weeks, just the audio version. So tonight we have Ricardo Corporán on the show, a local Atlanta artist and a diversity, equity, and inclusion professional who's actually a person of color. So he actually has lived experience, unlike folks that we spoke about yesterday who read a couple of books and then kind of off the cuff try and explain all the complexities of racism and marginalization. Ricardo has lived experience and then professional experience looking at this from a more analytical angle. But come on in, Nick, my lovely co-host. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. That was great. This is so interesting. I imagine this is probably what they think is happening with Stage 10. They think that someone else is pushing the buttons while someone talks. Not that it's all happening. This has been very nice. This has been very...
Yeah, it's nice. Imagine having like a real producer. Sometimes I do get volunteer producers. It makes a big difference. Then you can really focus on the comments and answering people in real time.
I mean, I do have my producer, Elsie Bernadine. Love her. Shout out. She is really the reason that like this show has grown to the place it has. Like Elsie has pushed me from the beginning. She helped me find the person to write the theme song. She helped me with graphics. Like I am so thankful to Elsie Bernadine for being the engine of the show. Straight up, for real. So thank you. And she's the one that emailed you to get your photo.
Well, I was just thinking as you said that because all of these relationships have started online, there's so much confusion around correct pronunciation of names. Because I don't know if you heard me earlier. I was trying to say Whitcomb the way you do, and I can't. Like, I want to make it a comb.
No one knows what it is. You know, I, as a child, I was always like, what do you mean it's like, that's not how it's spelled. And they're like, but that's what it is. And I was like, okay, you just say yes sometimes.
I'm going to get there. But with Elsie, every time you say Elsie, I'm thinking it's E-L, Elsie. Oh. I knew that I received communication from Elsie. C, and that they joined us for the live stream yesterday, but I thought these were two different people. Now I get it.
Same person.
I'm caught up. So thank you, Elsie, for all your work. I love it feels so official, the graphic design work they do for you.
It's
nice.
amazing. I'm very thankful.
Polished.
Also, I just want to say out loud, just so like it's not an awkward thing, we did not plan to wear the same color. I just want
I wanted to pretend that we're either psychically connected or we're just about matching.
I think we are psychically connected, and that's why I wanted to point it out so that people aren't like those losers. Like I want them to like know that like this is a real unity that's happening.
Yes, it's a whole vibe. And I feel like purple has some kind of Black significance, but at the moment what does it mean?
Royalty, and like, we are typically, you know. I mean, I don't know. I've just, that it's weird. Just like you said that, and I was like, and then you were like, "What does it mean?" And I was like, you know what? I can't actually tell you what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it does mean something. Maybe it just means that there was a book.
I don't
know if that's
the color purple, but like, is that racist? Like, are we racist now?
I don't remember the beginning of that book. So maybe it was explained early in it. I don't even know why it's named that.
There's definitely a line in there, and the musical definitely says it pretty plainly, and I don't remember right now. Really? So a bunch of my cards are being taken. We have a list of references that we just can't back up this week. We just,
it's so funny. I thought the other day after we got off the call, when you said like there are all these people who say they've read a book and then they suddenly know more about being Black than you do. I keep having issues with people using Black slang on me that I don't know, and I always refuse to admit it. I'm just like, yeah, and then I like look it up later. And I still couldn't quite figure out, like, how are people using hotep, like, in a sentence? I don't know. And then I heard it in a Janelle Monáe song, and I still didn't really get it. So there are a lot of things that have lost me my card over the years and recent weeks.
Listen, but you know what? I always tell people when they're like, I'm going to take your Black card, I'm like, that's okay. They'd still kill me. So it's nothing that matters.
It's like you're real enough, right? Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so excited about our guest today.
Me too.
In.
Oh, Ricardo.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling a little left out because you guys didn't tell me to wear purple.
But you have the theme. You have this purple.
Oh, I do have the purple lights up there.
Yeah. I was just going to say, the lighting.
I'm wondering if that's really where the suggestion came from. Because when I saw, is his name Woozle?
Woozle, yeah.
When I saw Woozle in the photo, I was like, oh my God, that's such a cute picture. I just felt like we looked so cute on camera, and I love your whole backdrop situation.
Oh,
so yeah, that's probably where we saw purple.
So it's your fault.
Okay, well, if you're blaming me, well, then I guess I can't really feel that left out.
I think the colors all agree. So how have you been doing? How are you doing as we approach November?
Oh my gosh.
I'm very entertained by your social media posts yesterday. Was that yesterday?
Days don't count anymore.
The days are a blur, and I can't believe that we're already approaching November, and it's that we're in October is just it's crazy to me, because when we were first sent home from work to start working virtually and working from home, we were all thinking it was going to be a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and now we've been in the thick of it for quite some time. So there's a lot of frustrations with that. There's been great things to come out of that too. I enjoy working from home, but I am also an extrovert, so I feel like I'm also missing the connection with my coworkers, which, for me, a lot of my coworkers are my family. I really enjoy their company. So it's hard.
Yeah.
Well,
and you've gotten hella pale. That's a side note.
Oh my God. For real. I'm like sitting in front of a window all day. You'd think I'd be getting some sun, but I'm just like,
It's not the same, Ricardo. It's not the same.
That's
Damn.
funny. When I was home I only got to stay home for a couple of months or like 3 months. I stayed home a lot longer than plenty of my coworkers, and they noted it. Okay. But there was a time when I was on a call with my mom and she was like, oh, like, you look
she was surprised.
strange. She's like, you need to go outside. I was
Like you literally
"No,
scared
not like
her.
you can see my veins or something, you know." She's just like, "I don't think you're supposed to be that color." I'm like, "You are correct. This is what happens when I don't go outside at all."
See, I always have like a nice little. I don't know if it's because I'm like just always hot, and so I'm just kind of just like baking no matter what. I keep a nice.
Getting the melanin up.
Yeah,
too?
I keep a nice little crisp. Like I keep I keep a nice little crisp year round.
I love it. I love it. I have started going outside because I felt like it was going to help with mood. I read in multiple places that 6 months is a breaking point for a lot of people in a crisis or in a pandemic. I don't know how they would know about the pandemic part, but that's what the article said. But I did feel like at the 6-month mark, I was just over it. Even introverts, if they're isolated for 6 months, might start feeling like maybe they're ready for contact
You know,
in small groups.
here's what I'll say. Like, I've found that I was doing a lot of things because people wanted me to. And I've seen people, like I've gone on walks and I've like seen like safely seen other humans, but like truthfully, like I'm kicking it. Like, like as long as I make sure I get outside every day and I'm like personally moving and like not stuck in this space, like I've really enjoyed. I mean, I don't like being on work Zooms. I don't mind being on like communal conversational Zooms. I was always a random phone caller before the pandemic. So that didn't change. It actually showed me who actually cared about me or not because they would answer. That's not true. Not everybody's a fun person. I'm like
They cared by calling you.
Yeah.
And
Well, but it's nice. I get to control my presence in spaces, even for like seeing shows. Like I don't really like watching Zoom readings, but I get to go and like kind of be incognito and like dip out when I want to, like which is not something that can happen when you go see a play, which is something that wants to happen a lot of times when I was seeing plays. And so yeah, so it's been nice to kind of like control my presence in the world, if I'm being honest.
Oh, I like those silver linings. What you said, Ricardo, that there were some good things that came out of it so far for you this year. What are some of those things?
Yeah, for me, some of those things have been, just going on my walks. I'd go on a walk every morning. I've been spending a lot more time with my mother-in-law, which has been really interesting because we, have great conversation now. Just, developing more of a closer relationship with her during this pandemic, because we're going out on a walk together, just, having like being forced really to talk to each other and spend more time with each other. But it's really been a blessing because I'm getting to know her a lot better, and we're having some really great conversations about politics, about race relations in our country right now, which I, never thought I would be having these type of conversations with my mother-in-law. But, as a white woman, like she's been so receptive to my point of view, my perspectives on these topics. And that's been really powerful to me. Talking to family, during this time of racial reckoning and this reawakening of the civil rights movement is so important. So to know that I have family that I can do that with is really important to me. Another thing that has been good that's come out of this is in the evenings, I've just found that, if I'm stressed or I've had a long day, I can sit down and focus on something that I started a few years ago, and that's my art. Just focusing, my energy and my attention on something that's kind of mindless, but also helps me process how I'm feeling at the time. And that's been really helpful to me. I started it a couple of years ago just as a form of therapy. My counselor recommended that, I try it out, see, whenever you're feeling stressed out or overwhelmed and you're trying to process, traumatic memories or events from your past, try just writing it, maybe doodling or doing something that you enjoy, but also focusing, on those thoughts and try to articulate that, but into art. And for me, that was always really healing, and I love doing it. So it's fun to do. I'm doing it more than I've ever done it now, and now I'm posting it online, and people have really taken a liking to it. So now I'm starting to sell it. I'm donated a couple of pieces to nonprofit organizations, which that I'm connected to or that I enjoy supporting. One of them being the theater that I'm on the board of, Theatrical Outfit. We had a gala earlier this year. It was in May, and I was so concerned: are we going to be able to raise enough money for this nonprofit organization that I'm so passionate about? I'm passionate about this theater because their mission is starting the conversations that matter, and that's what we're doing right here. We're having a conversation that matters, and I was so concerned about whether we were going to be able to raise enough funds for this nonprofit theater that I'm now on the board of all years for me to be on the board, by the way. Like, this is my first time ever on a board, and I'm just like, why in the middle of a pandemic? But we ended up exceeding what our expectations on what we were going to bring in for that fundraising event, and I'm so thankful for that. But because of my fears, I entered a piece of my art for that fundraiser, and we ended up selling the first piece that I've ever sold of my art for $600, and that was just like mind-boggling to me. I was like, oh my god, maybe I need to start selling art all the time now. Maybe I need to quit my day job. I don't know.
I mean, probably don't quit your day job right now. I wouldn't say this is the moment. But look at how beautiful.
Artist.
Yeah, artist to artist. Don't do it. I don't advise it. Don't advise it. But look at this. Like, it's beautiful.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you so much.
That is a gorgeous piece of artwork, and you just love you a setup, don't you? Look at it. It's just poised perfectly, doing what it needs to do. I love it.
I wish I could take credit for that. That's actually my husband. He is definitely the designer.
I love that they're like a power couple. Design and
thank you.
Fanciness.
And gorgeous art. So why'd you put your art down? And what about this moment it like made you want to come back to it and kind of like devote to it consistently?
That's a great question. I never really put it down, I would say. I started it in 2016, and it was during a period where I was a non-traditional student, and Dalia will tell you all about this. We were never encouraged to, growing up in the cult that we did.
There was a cult. And we're just gonna skim over it. Yeah, growing up in the cult.
Yeah. We grew up in a cult.
Okay, that is the second cult mention in come up history. I just want to say.
Everybody.
That's why I asked him about it. So Nick interviewed someone else who mentioned growing up in a cult, and that's why she wasn't super familiar with the Black church and praise dancing. And I was like, oh, which one? But I think the way I asked it, because I didn't give Nick the context, I was in a cult too. He thought I meant which person, and I was like, I'm just gonna skim over it.
Oh,
I didn't clarify.
Wait, I'm so sorry. That email, I'm learning that right now on the show, folks. That email said, what is the name of the cult, not the name of the person in the cult.
Yeah, I just said, oh, which one?
Is that, okay, question. Is that a proper question? Can I ask him, can I be like, what cult were you in? Is that?
I think so.
Or does it vary?
We don't know, because there's so many things that you do that are not okay and that are not cool when you're in a cult, that I think our concept of what is okay
I literally thought, I was like, Dalia, I thought we were
you.
friends. Why are you coming for me? Many things I do that are not okay. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm back now. I'm back.
I'm just saying, I don't think I really know. I mean,
I
I have no idea. Sorry for the detour.
Listen, detours
Quite a
are
detour.
necessary. I mean, I watched Waco at the beginning of the pandemic, and so like I was really interested in, but then I didn't know like what's the cult culture like is, and now that I've met 3 people from a cult, I feel like I can ask in public. This is probably not a good idea.
Well, you know what's funny? I think it all depends on how afraid are they still of the cult,
Of the cult,
and how
yeah.
much family is still in the cult. They might be cagey about talking about it because they're afraid a family member will see it, or a current cult member will see it and rat them out or cause problems for their family.
Woo.
So
Yes. And that is the nature of cults. They will make you take unnecessary detours in your life. Mine being that ours, they did not, as part of this cult, they did not encourage higher education of any form. So I never finished my bachelor's degree. I never took, education or a higher education seriously because I knew it wasn't expected of me. And it wasn't until I left the cult that I said, oh my gosh, if I want to be successful in life, I need to get a higher education. So I started going back to school. I went to Georgia State University. So in 2016, I was working full time. I was, in the midst of processing my own traumas from being in this cult, from being mixed race, from being gay, all the things, processing all of that on the side, and also going to school full time. So it was just a lot on my plate. And I found art to be such a great escape for me, and such a great and therapeutic way to process those emotions that I was having, those feelings. And so I never really put it down. I think I do it anytime I'm stressed out or anytime I need, just to process. And there's a lot of processing going on right now.
Yeah, I was like, what could possibly be stressing you out right now? I don't.
Last night. I mean, like.
Okay, can we?
I think my favorite post from you was like, it just said, "Oh my God, is that a fly right now?" And you had the little turd.
The fly.
Let me tell you. So I didn't live post about the presidential debate. But I posted a few, and this time I just posted one, and it said, "Tag yourself. I'm Kamala Harris's smirk," because that smirk was everything. And then the thread was hilarious, and I'm so happy that fly showed up. Like, it was the perfect post for the night. Because then the fly showed up, and everybody was like, "I'm the fly! I'm the fly! I've decided I'm the fly!" Like, I could not believe that a fly landed on that man's head, and he sat there. And it just sat. It was like a full question answer back and forth. Like, it was 5 minutes. Like, that fly was kicking it.
Twitter was so extra about it. What blows my mind is how quickly people churn out the most hysterical cartoons and graphics. Oh my goodness!
The meme.
Sometimes I don't even watch the. Oh yeah, they were.
But let's talk about Biden's like social media team for a minute, because like I was seeing on Twitter, he was like updating immediately after with pictures of him with a fly swatter. And I was just like, oh my God, I had to look at his own Twitter to see if it was real, because I thought it was just a meme that some mean person on the internet made.
That's some staffer who is just killing their job, who is just doing an amazing job. That I don't believe that was a boomer's idea.
Well, and you know what's funny? So I wish I remembered who the representative is, but there was a representative that like the post said, "Stock post for after debate. Like, we're so proud of Mike Pence." Like, so clearly some intern like A forgot to delete it, or B was like, "I want everyone to see that you're just full of shit." Like, which is hilarious to me. That like I just need all the interns to just rebel. Like, that's where we're at.
Because as I understand it, and as I've observed even on visits to the Hill, They're literally doing all the work.
Yeah.
But it's a little unnerving to know that the people doing all the work and giving all the information to the decision makers are people we did not select and we don't even know who they are. That's a little like, not great. Among so many other things that are not great, to say the least.
Yeah.
So, what have you been doing this year in particular to keep yourself sane in DEI? Because, already maybe some people were a little skeptical about DEI, and that a lot of organizations and a lot of people of not color, unmelanated, not melanated, I don't know. Other people sometimes will, in a performative way, be like, oh, let's get someone in here to do a presentation. And then we're going to be boop, 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 done. We're anti-racist now. Racism solved. How do you feel in the middle of a major civil rights movement working in that field energetically?
Yeah, it comes in bits and spurs where, my passion for this work definitely is what has sustained me working in this field for as long as I have, which isn't that very long, considering I've been in human resources since 2015 now, but I've been in EDI since 2017, November of 2017. But there's periods where I just feel so overwhelmed and like people aren't just getting the message, and I feel fed up and exhausted and fatigued. Diversity fatigue is real. But there's also, moments where I get inspired by seeing, not so much the needle moving where I want it to go, but the stories that come out of, the work that we're doing, or the works that others are doing in diversity and inclusion space. Podcasts like these are very inspiring to me. I see safe spaces for people of color to come and talk, specifically queer people of color. I mean, that's amazing to me and inspirational to me. And, I think you just have to make time to separate yourself and surround yourself with people who look and think like you sometimes, because we can't constantly be running this marathon by ourselves. It's exhausting. You have to take a break, and you have to practice good self-care. You have to go to the Black Joy Summit and other spaces where you can celebrate with other people of color, and be joyful, because without joy, without Black joy, without joy from people of color, then like this work is pointless. Because that's all what we're fighting for, really. That's all what this work is about, is creating spaces where everyone can feel included and everyone is equal. It's not that hard to ask. I don't know why, there's so much work involved in making this happen, but it is what it is, and we are where we are.
Live. Like, seriously, I'm not asking for anything. Just let me live.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask you, because it does seem, maybe it's because we're the ones that are on the side of the oppression. We're the ones that are on the side of being treated poorly. Is we're like, you could just not do that, like, and it'd be better.
It is that simple though. Like, you could just not. That's the whole presentation.
I just I mean, that's right. I've found a lot of times, because what's been interesting in this moment is not every, but a lot of the spaces that I've worked in before, or that know who I am, have called me and been like, hi, we are racist. And I don't know how, what do we need to do? I mean, they haven't said the words "we are racist," but that's pretty much.
I was so proud of them.
No, they haven't. I'm sorry. I gotta take.
I get it. Okay,
I gotta take that
never
back. But that's pretty much what they said. And they're like, how do we fix? And so, I mean, it's interesting, because working inside of an arts nonprofit, a lot of the work that we're doing, while I am not a hired consultant or trained in HR or anything, is consulting and advocating for myself and being like, no, this program is incorrect because XYZ. And they're like, what? Why? And you're like, well, okay, let me break it down for you. And then we're like doing that labor. And then people started calling me as if that was my job. And I was like, listen,
Oh my
like,
goodness.
it's just so I'm like, if you can call me, normal person that you know has no certification in this, and I'm correct, apparently, I'm good enough for you to call, like, then shouldn't you think that you should just like be able to figure this out? Like, what,
This is my thing. When you specify or clarify that this is labor,
yeah.
I feel it's so inappropriate to ask a Black person or a multiracial person who is also Black in 2020 to do any emotional labor in relation to racial justice. Inappropriate. We are exhausted. There's been so much work done, already published. Oh, you don't like to read? Okay, get an audiobook. Oh, you don't want to do that? Okay, watch a video, take a course. Don't ask people of color for emotional labor in the middle of the most stressful year of their lives. And on individual levels, people are going through stress related to oppression all the time. So it's always sketchy to ask a person of color to do emotional labor to help you with your personal improvement project. You're worried about personal improvement. I'm trying to squeeze a modicum of joy out of the time that I have on the planet that I'm not spending explaining to people to stop treating me like I'm subhuman. I literally don't have time for that type of oppression, really, from people who are supposed to be friendly in my life. To have that coming from friendly spaces. So you may worry about your physical safety part of the day in this country. And then other parts of the day, you're minding your own business, feeling safe in your office or whatever. And then somebody comes in asking for free emotional labor. And then you have to navigate, how do I have this conversation in such a way that I don't burn all the bridges? Because have you seen, this was a long time ago, but there have been skits where they show how you can say something in the most calm tone and people think you're screaming because you said it while having Black skin.
Yep.
So
while being Black.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Heaven forbid you
Listen,
actually
talking
get
while
upset.
being Black is dangerous.
Funny and we're laughing, but that's not funny at all.
It's not.
It's
Well,
so true.
it's not. Well, and that's why, I kind of flip it on its head, and I think that stresses people out more. Like, I start using really big words. Like, and I'll be like, and then people are like, oh, but like it's with big words. So they're like, I'm not sure how to respond to
To
this
take
moment.
this?
Yeah, they're like,
Well,
what?
it's so funny. Like I feel like I naturally do that in some ways.
Oh, you do. You totally do. Yeah.
But people
Laura's
still are
always
just. I
giving
think
you
what
words. I'm like, I didn't even know that was a word. And
that's from too much
but
reading.
this is
from
why we're
Malcolm.
friends, because she never makes me feel dumb whenever I'm like, what does that word mean?
Well, I will say too, when you're a multilingual kid, there's some things that you might miss in one language because you know it in the other. Like you never know.
Good point. Good point.
But what kills me is just how people, because of all of the ideas they have about how women should shut up, they don't give me an inch, man. There's like no way I could have an opinion and it not come across as that bitch. Like that's how it always comes across, no matter how I do it. And I've finally given up on trying to be nice. First of all, naturally, nice is not a value to me. To me, nothing could be more meaningless than being nice because nice and sincere, to me, those two terms are not correlated. A kind person might be sincere.
Yeah.
A kind person sees that you're really messing your life up and you need to sit down, you need an intervention. And they will have that difficult, uncomfortable conversation with you. A nice person sees that you're coming to work, like smelling like booze or whatever, and they won't say anything because that wouldn't be nice. Useless. That's like a useless thing to me. It's not one of my values. So I finally have let go of getting really upset when people call me names in relation to me being sincere. I had someone once put in writing at a job, they did like a collage of employees for Boss's Day, and they labeled every employee with a nickname. that the person who made the gift made, you can see how this could be an issue. Like this is headed in a bad direction. But everyone else got perfectly lovely nicknames. And she called me a straight shooter. And I was like,
Because she tells it like it is.
but it was absolutely not meant in like a nice way.
Yeah.
It was foul is what it was.
Mhm.
And at the time it really bothered me. But now I'm just like,
Yeah.
love it or
Whatever.
leave it. Whatevs. Every pot has its cover. Maybe I'm not for you.
Period.
It's a real art to, working with people who do not understand you or don't want to understand you, and practicing the patience that it requires to still continue a conversation with them despite knowing they do not want to speak the same language. They don't want to see you as a person. They don't want to understand. And I kudos to the people that have the patience to continue doing that. Because in my personal life, I've learned to shut the door and block certain people out of my life because I don't want to continue having conversations with people who don't see me as a person, who don't respect my rights, my human rights, my civil rights, or who would vote against those rights. I don't have time for them in my personal life, but in my professional life, it's exhausting because you have to have those conversations with people. And so a lot of the work that we do is finding the right language to have conversations with people and do it in such a way that it's not going to be a major turnoff. Like I'm constantly being told, in the work that we do, like, no, that's a little bit too jarring. Like, don't say it that way. Or, and that's fine because that's why you work on a committee with several differently minded people. It's not just one professional who does all the work in EDI. It's great to be on a committee with several different people, and you use that counsel as, a sounding board. Like, hey, this is how I think we should phrase this. And then the conservative, straight white guy in the room will say, well, that rubs me the wrong way because of this and this and this. And then I'm just like, but we work together on, forming the proper language so that it's palatable for, people who are in his mind space.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea of someone working on trying to touch the hearts and minds of people that are not ready, to hear something revolutionary like I'm a person and I don't like, I saw your post, Nick, what do I owe white people? And it just says nothing. And some people they're not ready. They're not ready.
Yeah.
So it's good that someone's out there doing the work. And I love that relieves the pressure that other people might feel to do the work, because if it's a calling for you, you do it. And maybe it won't be a calling forever. Maybe at some point you'll get burned out on it and move to a different phase of your activism. But there's always going to be somebody who is called to do it. So we don't all have to push for change in the same way.
Yeah, it takes all kinds. And I think people say this about protesting. They're like, not everyone is going to go march on the streets. Everyone has a different form of protest. I think everyone has a different form of, engaging in these types of. I'm yelling at people at this point. I've moved. I'm just yelling at folks.
You're in another phase. Yeah, I don't know what is that phase called.
Mad, just mad. And
well, it's funny because I feel like in that phase you're just cracking up a lot of Black people.
Yeah.
Because how many people saw that post today and spat out their coffee? So you're spreading joy.
Yeah, it's spreading joy. But also, I think, I feel like working in predominantly white spaces my entire life, like I have always had the sheen of like, this is how I need to be acceptable to these, like to say these things. And so now people just made me mad. Actually, I remember the moment I snapped. I was in a meeting with the theater and somebody said...
Was that 2020?
It was in 2020. I mean, that's not true. I've been snapping before then. I would actually say that, like, there was one Christmas, like, before I went on holiday break, I was just sending the emails left and right. People didn't know what to do. I was like, And first of all, and secondly, like it was just, I was going in. No, straight up, like I was going in, and like the harsh emails, like rough, but I just like I get to a certain point where like I'm also a person of chances. Like I don't come in blasting. Like I usually come in and I'm like, oh, like a lot of gentle. But then when the blast turns on, it is pretty quick. People get a little shocked. But that's also part of my strategy. Like is that I'm like, are you listening now? Because before I was actively saying that there were problems, and you clearly weren't listening. You like, because if Sally says she has a problem, don't matter what voice she uses, you're gonna hear it and you're gonna fix it. But the fact that I said a problem in my nice tone, and you're like, oh, but that means that you weren't actually listening to me. So now that I had to like roll my neck in the email, like, and now we have to have this conversation, like, that's we didn't have to get here if you was just listening to me for real. But now I've proven that you weren't listening to me, and you, it's like a parent. It's like this hurt me more than it hurt you, because now I had to show you a side of myself that I didn't want to bring out. I was holding her back.
I almost feel too old for neck rolling. Like I could get injured, and so at this point, I'm trying to set
Good night, everyone.
boundaries.
Thanks so much.
I'm trying to set boundaries so that we don't get to the point of the neck rolling, so that they know, just like literally, I'm tired, and I'm to the point now where sometimes I don't even answer. Someone could ask me a question right to my face, and I might just walk away. So I want to know, if I was called a straight shooter when I was trying to be nice, what will people start to call me if somebody asks something that I'm just like, I'm not going to dignify that with a response and I just walk away? I want to know what the name's going to be next.
Oh,
I'm excited to find out.
I'm excited to find out. Oh, God.
I feel so free lately. Like, I really feel like so many people, my biggest, and I don't know if this is more a POC thing, my biggest hang up was my mother disapproving of me. Mm-hmm. And you hear Black people especially all the time say, you ain't my mama. And that's like the only person you have to listen to. Even if my dad's there, he's always there. He's right beside my mom probably when I'm talking to her, but I'm so much more afraid of my mother's disapproval. Actually, I'm not afraid of my dad's disapproval at all. Maybe just because he's more chill.
Oh, interesting.
But now
that's interesting to me, because like for me, it's like the opposite. I was more afraid of my father's disapproval than my mother's.
Oh, no. I mean, my dad is like, he's so good at being a parent. Like, not that my mom isn't, but he's a parent who's like, you're a gift. Like, I'm your temporary guardian, but you are your own creature. Like, you are, God made you, God put you here, and I'm supposed to watch you.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
But I don't get to control who you become, and I don't need to control who you become. And my mom's more like, but you're my mini me, and I made you, and I have expectations, you know. So, but now that I feel like my mom fully knows who I am, I feel like there's no one left to disappoint. And oddly, I think she knew it all along. So I don't even know that she's even that disappointed. So now I'm like, oh my goodness, you can't tell me anything. I'm just like that bad kid who knows their mom's phone is disconnected and they have no fear because they know you literally can't get in touch with her. That's where I'm at.
Real. Yo, that is a true.
Mom, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Whatever. Call my mama.
Exactly. What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Oh, what happened? Boop, 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 boop. Uh-huh. Whatever. She ain't pay that bill.
Exactly. It's just total freedom. you see that kid. It's just so bold.
Oh no.
I just feel like totally liberated. I'm like, I'm just start letting people know what's up. Yeah. Because I love that you say, Ricardo, this is about the joy of the people that are being marginalized. It's about people being able to fully enjoy their lives in a way that so many other people are already. This isn't
and have been doing for years.
Exactly. This is not a self-improvement project for people who are whooping it up with the privilege. This is literally about us. How do we manage to turn this into something that's about you again? How?
Yeah. Well, because I think, at least in this particular moment, it became like, wow, I need to show that I am not racist. Like that, what I saw happen, that is, that is un-American, and I need to prove that I am not in that camp. Actually, you know what? After my research, it is American. It's very American, but I am not one of those Americans.
That's even progress to be like, actually, that's like the most American thing that we do here.
Right. They're like, but
That's
that's
like
not my
how we
America. And
started.
it's like, well, now we missed it again. Like, because that's exactly your America. But no, because I think
Yes.
it became an I conversation. It became, what can
Mhm.
I do to do? What can I, and I feel like part of it is that social media is a tricky thing. And so all your black and brown friends are saying to you, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to combat systemic racism? And so they're like, I'm reading a book. I am going to take this class. I am good. Right. It's like, but what are you doing for someone else? Is the continuation of that
Yes,
question. It's like, how
yes.
then are you enacting all that? It's like, great, love your research. That's beautiful. How are you fixing it?
Yeah, yeah. So it's also bizarre to watch from this perspective. And I thought it was funny earlier when you said too, like it's so good to have diversity at the table, essentially, when you're working in EDI, which I always want to say DEI. I don't know, I'm changing the order. And you said diversity.
As a side note, and not to detract you from your thought, but I do want to point out that a lot of people have also been adding justice to the acronym. So now
Ah.
JEDI. I hope to one day be able to say that I'm a Jedi Master. Justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Oh my God,
As
I
a
didn't
Star
hear
Wars
it
fan,
at
I was just
first.
like, oh
I'm
my god, I'm
so
so
excited.
excited.
Oh my God. Well, now that you say it like that, I'll never forget what order the letters come in. And I think you should just start saying you're a Jedi Master now, like immediately.
Okay. Done.
You know what you need to get on the screen? I got Ricardo the most kick ass gift. Okay. It's so cute because he is a blurred, nerd of color.
Yes.
He is obsessed with X-Men and as we all are. It's normal.
Right.
And I just get the cutest diversity, equity, and inclusion superhero.
It was so
like a
cool.
like a what's the word? A painting of him, we'll say.
Yeah, it was like a me cartoonized. Cartoonized? Is that a word?
I don't know. English is not my first language. That's not true. But I feel like that would be a good excuse.
Oh my god, I need to start using that excuse more often.
Oh.
How can I use that excuse if it's a total lie?
But it was me
I just thought,
as Cyclops. Like, it was
yes,
me
it was
depicted
so
as
cute.
Cyclops from the X-Men and like the
Oh, it's your profile
X-Men.
picture.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it has diversity, inclusion on the X stripe on his chest.
So
cute.
cute.
I thought it was so cool.
So you
Best
should definitely
present
call
ever.
yourself a Jedi Master. But I like that when you talked about diversity, you specifically mentioned the white straight guy being part of the diversity. I think it's funny how people who think of themselves as the center of the universe, every time they use the word diversity, they mean not white. But that is not what the word diversity means. But that's just how it's frequently used here. So when I say diversity, I might mean an old straight white guy. So
yeah. You bring up a really good point because I like, in the work that I do, we get a lot of surveys, and that's the major part of my job is working on survey after survey after survey that we get. And these questions, are how many diverse partners are at your firm or how many diverse associates are at your firm. And everybody uses a different, definition of what they mean by diversity. Some include women, some include, people with disabilities, some people, include veterans, some include all of them. Most often than not, when I hear diversity, I'm thinking of people of color, minorities, and that's it. But, we also, want to include LGBTQ plus. We want to include, all, religious minorities, So in that sense, me, Dalia, like you are, 1, 2, 3, 4 forms of diverse, I guess, in that category.
I'm all the things.
Yeah, you're all the
what's the
things,
fourth one?
literally.
Well, I feel like I'm a little
A cult
disabled.
survivor. I was gonna say
Can
religious
we count that?
diversity. Yeah, religious minority. But I mean, as a cult survivor, I think you qualify.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. And I'm going to say little disabled because I'm a spoonie and I have a chronic illness. So
There you
I
go.
check a lot
Yeah.
of boxes. Yeah, yeah. Well, what has that been like for you dealing with race in a year? Well, not in a year, in your life as someone with fair skin who is a person of color. And what is
Ooh.
it like when people assume that you are a white person or that you identify as a white person? How do you
That is such a good
navigate that?
question.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's such a good question, and I think that is one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about Jedi work because um, I often, as a person of color who might be white presenting to some people, um, and this comes up all the time. I posted on Facebook a while back about how while I was going to Georgia State University, I had a friend who was surprised to find out that I was Hispanic, and I started, proudly telling him about my Hispanic heritage, about how my father's from Dominican Republic and he's black, and my mom is half Cuban and half Puerto Rican, and she's very light skinned, and that I'm mixed race, but I'm also Hispanic. I love telling that story because I'm proud of my heritage. And his response was, "Oh, well, you should just go by Ricky and not tell anybody that you're Hispanic or that you're mixed race. Like, no one needs to know that." And you know, and the way he said it to me was like if it was a compliment for me to be able to pass as white, and for me that was offensive. I don't want to pass for white. Like, I've never once wanted to pass for white. So
I don't blame you.
but I mean, it was so offensive to me.
Especially this year, it's so much easier to just be like,
Oh God.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm black, you guys. I don't, this is not my issue.
But I think that's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about this work is because I experience things like that all the time. I experience microaggressions like that all the time. And I realize that because of my skin color, but also because of my experiences, I have a unique perspective, and I might be able to bring, be a bridge to the gap between racial relations sometimes, especially in moments like those. I use that as an opportunity to inform my friend, like, hey, that's really offensive, by the way. And, and just tell him why that's offensive, because he told me that because he thought I would be okay. And that's something that I don't think he would ever admit to someone who was darker skinned. To a black person, he would have never told them that he thinks it's, better to pass for a white person, or better to be a white person. I mean, essentially,
Well,
he
I
was telling
certainly
them.
hope not.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially telling a black person to their face that, hey, like, I'm really racist. And
I mean,
The subtitles would pop up as people were saying these things, and then they would see them and be like, "Oh,
read it.
is that what I really said?"
Just read it. Yeah. Well, and that's so. Actually, this came up last night on the show, and I didn't pull it up. I want to pull it out tonight. The term microaggressions. I've talked to someone before, and they said microaggressions don't exist. Like, it's only aggression. And I was like, nah. But then I was like, actually, because does us qualifying it as a microaggression make it any less aggressive than it was? Like, because the reason that I pointed out is the reason that I pointed out that thing that we call a microaggression is because you didn't know you hurt me. But that's almost more aggressive because I just feel like it's in a world where everyone has the same access to knowledge, right? And in your white brain, since you came up with this microaggression, I'm assuming that you think I actually have less access to knowledge than you do. And so the fact that I know that was offensive, like I would suspect that you would also know that is probably not okay. It is, I guess, the argument and why it's not a microaggression. So
I am curious about how that term came to be, and I wonder if it was a white person who, coined that term, because I've encountered white people who are offended by the term microaggression, and they said, can we come up with another term for it? And I was like, well, it's it is what it is, like, and it is aggressive. They they wrong that person, And the fact that we have to call it a microaggression is in and of itself already us trying to make that person feel more comfortable with the fact that they wronged us, whether they knew it or not, because it was inadvertent. Like, that's probably why they want to call it a microaggression, because it wasn't on purpose. But like, I don't get that.
It is emotional and psychological abuse.
Yeah.
And it's chronic, because if you saw somebody talking to a child this way, even if the parent didn't think they were being mean because the way they were raised, all the things they were saying to the child are okay, you would still kind of bristle, and you would know this child is being verbally abused. If a cis male father is explaining to his little girl how little girls aren't as smart as boys, and little girls, are not good at math. If you heard something like that, you would know, oh, that's really going to mess her up. Like, that's abuse, and it's doing damage. It's really the same thing. It doesn't matter if you know that you're doing damage. It does damage.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's for the folks that maybe need a more concrete example. If you don't know, you're in a new city, you're driving down the wrong side of the road, you get in a car accident and somebody dies, they still dead. Just because you didn't know that you were on the wrong path don't make it the right one, and don't make it like kind of okay that you were on it.
On that Snap show and some of these other shows where people murder someone and then they're remorseful and they're like, well, I didn't know it's going to kill them, and they still don't really want to accept, like, they're still dead. Like,
or they're like, I clear, like, if I was actually in that room, I wouldn't have done that. Like, that wasn't me. They still dead. You killed somebody. It don't matter.
I didn't mean for them to hit their head when I pushed them off the bridge.
And
I didn't mean for them to bleed out when I stabbed them. It was only twice. Like,
the fact that you think that's going to work is white privilege. Straight up. I'm going to just say it. Like, and that's why most people on those shows are white people, because one, y'all crazy. I don't know why I keep saying we the craziest ones, because from what has happened this news week and everything that I watch on ID Discovery, y'all need to get that out your mouths, because y'all the problem. But
yes, because I feel like everybody's crazy, but some of us are not given any room to be crazy. We don't get an inch. So we don't have time to while out like that, because we're getting shot for running red lights, okay? So
we're getting shot for buying Skittles.
We're
getting shot for being a 12-year-old and playing in a park. Like,
if you can't play with a toy gun, if you can't have a candy bar in your pocket, if you can't run a stoplight, I mean, you don't really have time.
You could probably kill 15 people and get away with it. Like, that's probably because you're a white man.
Well, it's so funny because it's so disturbing how people feel safe around people they think look like them, and assume that means that they are safe, and they're absolutely not. And most people are going to be murdered by somebody from their own ethnic group. Not most people are going to be murdered, but if you are going to be murdered, it is going to be by someone probably in your area, in your part of town, who looks like you. It's not going to be some strange, scary character, I mean, it's going to be somebody you thought was safe. And you're wrong. Don't people always say, oh, but he was so nice. I can't believe he had 50 bodies under the house.
Oh my God.
He was so nice.
Wow, this took a turn.
I know.
I feel like the message is racism hurts everybody. I know we started out saying we were going to focus on how, like, you have transmuted.
I'm going to go do some art now.
He's like, I'm stressed. I need to go paint.
But you know what? The good news is I really feel like everybody's finding coping mechanisms. And by everybody, I just mean us, because not really everybody. But you've got your creative expression, Nick, interviewing people, featuring what other people are doing, expressing your creativity through marketing as well. Ricardo, you have your beautiful art. I've been honestly getting a lot of joy from being very petty, and that's giving me life.
Welcome. Girl, I came into your life at the right time.
Dalia, I've been so proud of you and so proud to know you too, Nick. Like, your podcast and these conversations that you're having, like, it's such important work right now. And you might not see it like that right now, but it really is. It's important work that you all are doing, creating these safe spaces and having these dialogues, these important and relevant dialogues right now. It's great work. So keep it up. And don't let your pettiness stop you.
Yes. Well, listen,
I'm going to only use it for good, like a Jedi Master.
Yes. And I was going to say, like, keep being nice to them people in the rooms, because I'm not. So.
Somebody's got to do it.
I will. Yeah, as a lighter skinned person of color, like, I feel that's part of our responsibility, because our Black brothers and sisters don't have the patience. We've all been running this marathon for a long time, but our Black brothers and sisters have been running it a lot longer than all of us. And I recognize that, and I see that as, part of my responsibility, and to step up and, pick up the slack where my darker skinned brothers and sisters can't.
Yes. I love that. And that is such a beautiful message from, like, for all the multiracial babies.
That's right. Especially the Hispanics. Like, let me just go off on a quick tangent about
please.
The Hispanics
and
listen, we're gonna give you the whole
Hispanics that are like racist. Like, what is wrong with you?
There you go. Speak it.
You have
I get my whole entire platform over myself. So the white Hispanics that are out there, like, what is wrong with you guys? Seriously, like, it's so frustrating. I don't understand. I'm on a couple of Facebook groups that are like exclusively for like Hispanic community, and they post some really funny things, but then they also post some really problematic and racist stuff, and I just don't understand. And I know it's because they're coming from this place of complete ignorance. They're white passing 9 times out of 10, or they're self-hating people of color. And I just don't get it. I don't understand it for the life of me, why you have to look down on another race when you know that our own ethnicity, our own race has also been disenfranchised and attacked by this administration. And before this administration, like, I was looking, we had a Hispanic Heritage Month event at our firm recently, and it was brought to my attention that there was like a sign, which I had never seen these signs before myself, but it's, at restaurants and businesses all across America, that said, no Blacks, no Mexicans, no dogs. And to me, like, that was...
Wait, where was it posted? I haven't seen this either.
Oh, not in our lifetime, but...
okay, got it.
Yeah.
I
looked it up on the Library
during
of
this
Congress.
administration, I was like, what? It felt like it could be happening now. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, for me, like, it was just mind-boggling, but an ever-present reminder that, this is the very real history of America that's founded in racism, and they don't just hate Black people. They hate everybody who's not white.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these racists want. That's what these Nazis and white supremacists, that's what they want. They want a white America. And when they finish killing everybody they don't like, they're going to drill down deeper, and they're going to eventually get to you too. So everyone needs to wake the fuck up, and we need to join together and stamp this out while we still can, because otherwise we're going to be on Asteroid M or Krakoa or whatever it is that the X-Men are on now, where they're like all the mutants are living together and all the humans are like living separately. That's what it's coming to.
Yes.
I'm off my soapbox now.
I mean, it's just so true. We have to be intersectional. We aren't free until everyone is free. And honestly, if we can get to the point where Black trans women are totally liberated, then everything else is going to fall into place. Because when you get the most marginalized person sorted out, safe and secure, with equal rights, equal access to employment, then we're all covered. So advocating for a group that's getting more of a hard time for you is the smartest thing you could do. Like, that's exactly where we want to start.
Well, and that's the work. I think when people are like, "What's the work? How do I do?" It's stop making it an I conversation, and think about who do I need to lift up. I need to look back and see like who is not getting the help right now. Like who is beneath me that I can pull up in this conversation and push forward. Because that's what needs to happen. So.
Because we all have different levels of privilege, and that makes perfect sense. Think about who has less privilege than you and who is more marginalized than you, and that's where you can focus your energy, because sometimes focusing on just helping the group that you're in becomes exhausting because you never get days off from being part of that group, which is why I'm not going to be marching. I have no emotional energy for trying to get people to realize that Black people are human. I feel like my ancestors want me to enjoy the greatest amount of freedom I possibly can in real time. And focusing on that makes me feel caged. However, I'm all about helping my trans sisters out.
Yes. I love smart people, especially smart Black and brown and queer people. I'm just so happy to know both of you and have you in my circle now. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Likewise.
For having us.
Likewise.
This is beautiful.
Ricardo, you've been a marketing guru, getting this promoting this episode. Thank you.
I'm so glad you said that because I felt bad. You were doing an excellent job.
That's
the
job.
Nick's like a superhero.
I didn't do anything besides just share what you did.
That's great.
And then
listen,
before, the day of, I was like, "Hey guys, don't forget to."
No, that's perfect because honestly, I mean, I come from the theater world, and so I don't like making my own posts in the theater world. I like to share what the person has already put out there. So it was it's all good. Message got out. I'm just happy. I'm just so happy we did this. This was one of the best ideas that we've ever had.
Yes. Where do we find you, Ricardo?
Yes.
And where can we purchase your art?
Oh, thank you for asking. So I'm on Etsy now. I just made an Etsy shop, and that was totally thanks to you, Dalia. So you can look me up, Art by Ricardo Corporán. I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Art by Ricardo Corporán, and I'm also on Instagram now. And I'm very new to Instagram, so bear with me, but please do come follow me.
He's doing great. Listen, we'll drop some links in the comments for the Facebookies and add some stuff to the description and stuff. Ricardo, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yay! Oh,
awesome.
Dalia, we did it.
This has been a wonderful experience. I hope that was enough for everybody to fall in love, and that our audiences are now going to be one big happy family.
I think that'd be amazing. I just, I say all the time, in the arts world, a lot of people are afraid of collaborations because people are always like, I've been burned by collaborations and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but collaboration is so beautiful. And being able to do this specifically on this platform has been so important to me because it proves that it's still possible to create connection in a digital space. It's still possible to find people from across the country and be in the same conversation and not, be afraid of what this partnership could mean. We're just doing it because that's what needs to happen. We talked about making space last night and how to find community and this is it. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
Period.
100%.
That's the tweet.
And don't be afraid. Yeah, exactly. I think that's really interesting that people have been burned before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you get a vibe and you follow your intuition and safe people for the most part.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, before we go, I have to shout out, I got a new patron today, Shane Richland. Thank you so much for your contribution. Also have to do the shout out to my sponsors. Y'all are beautiful and wonderful. We love you. You're fantastic. I'm gonna do this right this time, Dalia. Watch. Oh, this was the best time. Dalia, tell the people one more time, where can we find you?
Go to sendfox.com/Dalia Kinsey, that's DALIAKINSEY, and get on my mailing list so we can stay connected. You need to look for Body Liberation for All wherever you get fine podcasts.
Yes! And like, follow, subscribe, share, all the things. Listen, Dalia Kinsey, everyone, thank you so much for this event. It's been amazing. It's been like a little revival. It's like we're a church.
Yeah.
Or a cult. Oh no!